What's up, everybody? This is All the Things here with another book review and reading off my Kindle for the second time. We are here to talk about a book that I think almost everybody's heard of, but I rarely meet a person that's actually read, and that book is Dante's Inferno. So, Dante's Inferno, it's like a poem, and it's interesting historically because it came out like in the Middle Ages, back when like there weren't a million billion books coming out every week, and you couldn't go on the internet and look at book reviews. There were very few books out. Not too many people could read, and people were like ultra religious in most of the parts of Europe at that time. And I bring this up because Dante's Inferno is kind of like this description of Dante's adventure as he goes down to the fireplace, which is hell. And he has a guide that keeps him safe, but basically this was kind of the first major standardized vision of hell. Like the Bible kind of talks about hell sometimes, but Dante's Inferno, it's very like focused on the details of hell. And there's like these levels of hell in Dante's Inferno. Like before this time, there wasn't really this standard idea of hell that was in everybody's mind. This is where like demons and pitchforks and specific punishments for certain deeds, I think, really comes from, as far as being in the mind of the public. Like for instance, there's punishments where you get buried alive upside down with your feet sticking out of the ground, and then you just die, and that's one of the punishments. There's another one where there's like a crack in a rock, and you like get shoved into this crack, and then the next person to commit that crime or go to hell for that reason gets shoved into the same crack, and the person that was already in there gets shoved further into the smaller parts of the crack, and you just gotta like get continuously shoved into this crack. And there's this like other one where it's like a lake of boiling tar or something like that, and they have to, the people, there's like demons outside of the lake, like supervisor demons, making sure everybody like stays in the lake, and they're supposed to be like under in the lake, like boiling and suffering and stuff. And then if they like come up above the lake to like catch a breath of fresh air, take a break and burn a little less, then the demons are like, I saw you, and then they like pull the person out and like punish him a bunch and then throw him back in the lake. And there's this kind of funny part of the book where this guy gets caught doing that, and the demon catches him and gets him, and he's gonna like punish him a lot, and the guy is like, yeah, you got me, yeah, you punished me, you know, I did it. But that aside, being a very, I think, important historical book, because it was a text written at a time where texts were few, so it was very influential at its time just because it existed. But it also gave this idea in people's minds that like hell is this place, and these actions will receive these graphic punishments, and here's all the details about how those graphic punishments go down. So it gave you kind of a way to be like, don't do that because then you're gonna get buried alive upside down. Don't do that because you're gonna get burnt in a boiling lake or this or that. And that was very like, to me, that'd be kind of traumatic that comes out, and like now there's specific punishments for all this stuff. That's scary. But aside from that being really interesting to read from that perspective, and seeing like, wow, if I was like basically illiterate, middle-aged person, like person in the Middle Ages, not like a 30-year-old person, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, hell's kind of a bad place, you don't want to go there, blah blah blah. And then this comes out, and people are like, no, this is like, this is kind of like fear mongering, where they like put out all this stuff to scare people and tell people how awful things are going to be if you don't act correctly. And I'm not sure if that was the intention, but that could have been very scary. And to read it from that perspective, like this would have been like, oh my gosh, and what's going to happen to me if I don't eat my vegetables? Like, and you're like, oh, vegetables. So that's very interesting. But the thing that I think was kind of about this work to me is it's like an epic poem, and maybe am just not a person for epic poems, but there's like levels in the Inferno, and the the way that each level is described is exactly the same way. So they're like stanzas with the same metrics. So it's like the same sauce. So you go to the next level, and there's like, okay, so this level has some dudes that broke the law, and they're gonna get punished for this way, and then we're gonna find one of them and interview them, and they're gonna tell us about how bad it is, and then we're gonna be like, oh, that's bad, and then we're gonna move on to the next place, and the same thing is gonna happen over and over and over and over and over until we get to the bottom. And after a while, like me, I'm not reading this like terrified that this stuff is going to happen to me. I'm reading it because like I want to know what's there. And it gets kind of old, like to go through that same format over and over and over. It's like filler episodes in anime to me. But that made it kind of hard to get through after about half the book. And there's some stuff in there that's different, that's interesting, like the way that he has to cross over to certain different levels and stuff. And there's like people that may be chasing him, and Dante himself has to like battle with some internal stuff. Like that stuff's kind of interesting. But there's like a repetitive way that it's written, which is probably the epic poem format. But it's not really my cup of tea. But reading it to get a better understanding of the thoughts of the people in the Middle Ages, reading it to get a better understanding of kind of the popular depiction of hell. I think the depiction of hell still largely comes from this text, even though we've been a lot more creative in describing it or using CGI or drawing cool pictures and stuff. Most of it is still based on this from what I understand. And maybe not the specific punishments, but kind of the implements, kind of the tools, kind of the fire and the lakes of brimstone and the being cut off from God, that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff is still kind of standard sauce that was in here. So that's really interesting to read into and kind of understand some of the history behind religion and people in real life. But whew, if you're just reading this to have fun, I would say good luck. This is a book that was tough for me to read, and there were no pictures in this book. At least the Kindle version, which was very disappointing because they had such good descriptions of people getting punished, and they could have put like those old kind of like stained glass in the church pictures of people getting like smited and stuff, so it gives you a better idea of what the punishment was, but they didn't do that at all. So there was no pictures, very disappointing. But other than that, I think I learned a lot. I'm glad I read it. I'm not going to read it again, even though I rarely read books twice, but if it's your thing, it's your thing. If you like epic poems, then I guess you like epic poems. But yeah, the book is, or the work is Dante's Inferno. Sorry, there's a little bit of glare on my Kindle. And yeah, I probably got a bunch of the historical stuff wrong. This is my perspective on it. I'm not trying to tell people what to think or what's right or what's wrong. It's just what I got from reading it and how I mixed that with the knowledge that was already in my head. But very interesting, very helps you with perspective, especially like I think it's very easy for people like me, and I'm just using me as an example, but like for a person like me to judge another person because I'm putting my knowledge and who I am in their situation. Is like if I was in their situation, I would have done different. But this book, I think, as far as the helping you understand how medieval times people thought and what their idea of hell was and stuff, and how this was kind of real to them, it helps me more understand like the Inquisition and the witch hunts and how scary it might have been to really believe this was true. Like if this was the truth to me, like if I really thought that I was gonna go to hell and get shoved in a crack for eternity and get like pushed deeper and deeper into that crack for doing something, I'd be like, whoa, maybe I shouldn't do that. That doesn't sound worth it. Like, and I guess on that level it helps me empathize with different people in history and kind of walk a mile in another person's shoes. But other than that, it's a work with words and no pictures, but it's all good. Anyways, the work is Dante's Inferno, and it is by, I didn't say who it was by, but it's by Dante Alighieri. My pronunciation game is like lately, so I'm sorry for butchering that. But it's by Dante. And if you like it, if you didn't like it, if you're like a poetry fanatic and you hate everything I said, then let me know. Like or don't like or whatever. I'm just trying to give you my opinion of the book, the work. But yeah, it's Dante's Inferno. This is all the things. If you like this book review, which I know is not really a book review, it's like a poem review, but it's kind of a big poem, like a book. Please, like this video, comment on this video, subscribe, give me ideas for different books to read or different poems to read. Change my mind. Maybe there's other epic poems that are better that I don't know about. But yeah, anyways, this has been all the things. Dante's Inferno book review. I'll see you guys later.